morning. It is my prayer and hope today that everything that we say and do will bring comfort and consolation to Debbie and Judy, to Mark and Cheryl, to Shanna and all of his family that's here as well, and to all of us as his friends. I met Vance at Station 1. He was a captain at Station 4 that particular day. The battalion chief had a captain's meeting and everybody was excited about the teenage captain that was coming. And I kept looking around for some teenager, and it turned out that this man that you see in this photo here was there, and he indeed looked like a teenager as opposed to somebody who was 27 years old. I was 22 and he looked way younger than me. And I was jealous. You notice in this photo though, he had the decency for his hairline to retreat about a quarter of an inch from what it was when I did it, as opposed to some of the rest of us. Vance was hired in 1965. He was promoted engineer in and around 1998, and to captain by 1970. I had that privilege to meet him at Station 1, and even though he had been considered the golden boy, he wasn't stuck up, he wasn't conceited. He was willing to talk to the lowly brand new kitchen man, me, and encouraged me in my efforts to be a firefighter. Eventually, he and I were neighbors. When I passed my probation, I was living in Corona, and the city had a residency requirement then. So as soon as I passed my test, the BC was telling me I had to move. And to do it quickly, he gave me 3 months to find a place and move and get in there. So I was talking that over at a softball game with the players, and Vance said, well, there's a house next door to us that's up for rent. Why don't you try that out? So we did. So Cindy and I and our 2 kids moved next door to Vance and Judy at the time, and to Cheryl and Mark. I used to play with the kids a lot because I enjoyed being around them. One of those times, we were playing in the trees. I was the lead ape or baboon or chimpanzee, maybe it's better what I was trying to be. And Judy came out the door and told me to get out of that tree. And Vance came later and said, what are you doing? You're the adult. Leave those kids alone. And he and I always had that relationship where you can tease one another. I always teased him about his hair, and he always teased me about my becoming more and more lack of hair. Enjoyed being there, living next door. One of the things he has always been is a DIY guy. The chaplain talked briefly about his laying tile in his entryway and through his kitchen. Did that all himself, self-taught. He built a cargo box for his Jeep that he mentioned. One of the things he did do was to try to plane down one of the edges on that cargo box. He slipped. He was using a knife instead of a plane. And the knife slipped and stabbed himself in the arm. And we rushed him to the hospital. So he wasn't quite the DIY guy he thought he was. And Warren mentioned his physical fitness. Fortunately for me, when I was at Station 2 working for Chief Newell, he didn't have that call, or at least I didn't hear it, because I didn't work out in the morning like they did. I didn't sweat in the morning like they did. But I could run log businesses, so when we got over to the high school yards, I was the leader of the pack pretty much in the, the running. Vance and I shared a love for physical fitness in that I was running, in that we also played softball together, football together, both flag and tackle football against our PD's team. We played 3 games, 2 tackle games and 1 flag game. We lost all 3. And in the first tackle game, Vance got his knee tore up. And at the end of the, right at the end of the game, last play of the game for me, my leg was broken. So Vance and I not only played together, we also healed together in the ER that night. We shared that with each other. We had a C-shift job together, not everybody knew about. He and John Coriel and I. A C-shift job is a part-time job away from the fire department for people who may not know that. There used to just be A and B shift. So if those guys had part-time jobs, they called that their C-shift job. And that still stands today, I think, right? You guys had a C-shift job? No, he says no. Another treasure lost, perhaps. Anyway, we worked for the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. Vance never smoked. I never smoked. John Coriel never smoked, to my knowledge. But we did go to various supermarkets, Stater Brothers especially out here, and to some liquor stores and built cigarette display cases. And we had to tear up tile and put down new tile. And those 2 guys were both DIY guys. Is that right? You do it yourself. So they did really well, and I was left as the cleanup guy, so, because I'm not a DIY guy. Vance was a mentor to me as well as a good friend. The job of captain in the training division came open, and he encouraged me to give it a try. I did, and got the job, worked there for a couple of years, which was a rewarding thing for me. And Vance used his training to great advantage in that he later taught at the Fire Academy at Ben Lewis Training Center, which is now called the Ben Lewis Public Safety Training Center, because they teach more than just fire. They teach CHP, the sheriff, and Riverside Police there as well. And I'm sure that many of our current firefighters, probably now getting close to retirement, had a class or 2 with Chief Newell as their instructor. While I was a BC at Battalion, while he was a BC at Battalion 2, I was a captain on Engine 2. Our chief, Deputy Chief Anderson, introduced computer technology to us in the very early 90s by introducing or supplying each station with a Macintosh computer, you know, the little cube one. And on that, he made sure that we knew there was games we could play. And the games part of it happened a lot in our station on my shift. But I also saw the creativity available with the Mac. We also had office software, word processing, spreadsheets, and data. Excuse me. With that, I saw how to create records and how to keep track of the stuff that we had to do. Station 2, Battalion 2. I don't know if it's still this way. I retired back in 2004. So I'm not sure it's still the same way, but back then staffing was controlled and used by Battalion 2. So every morning if somebody was sick, they would call in sick. And Vance and I would do the hiring. So I created a database and a couple of spreadsheets and reports on how to keep track of all of that. With Vance coaching me on how to do it, because he was afraid of the computer. But it turned out that a lot of the bumpy stuff, a lot of the stuff we did were bumps in the road to the data processing, and it worked that the guys now have for their reports. Their record management systems are far more advanced and do stuff that I could never think of doing back then. And here's a little story about one of the bumps we encountered while we were doing it. A certain retired fire chief was on our software development team. One day we were working with live data, and this chief I'm referring to was using a white background on his screen when he did something unintended with some keystrokes. All of his data disappeared from his screen. He stopped what he's doing and ran over to us and said, I believe something happened. Well, it turned out that he had, through those accidental keystrokes, had changed the color of the font to white on a white background. So it appeared to be gone. But we found out what the command or Control Z key was for, which means undo, and his data all came right back. So we've had a few good laughs over that over the years, haven't we, Chief? Vance and I had a lot of adventures on the job. We had a lot of adventures off the job, camping, going on 6-day trips. We were colleagues, co-workers, and best of friends. In all of that, we never spoke of politics nor religion. Debbie tells me that even in their marriage, when election time came, that he never told her who he was voting for. He didn't want her to know. And he was that way with all of us. We never talked about, he and I especially, never talked about religion or politics. We thought those topics were controversial, and we never wanted to offend anyone. We both respected that limit in our relationship. Until Debbie called me on the day before Vance passed away. She asked me to come over and asked to have prayer for him. So I knelt down next to Vance and prayed, practically whispering in his ear, that we are both facing, he and I are both facing checking out of this world together. He's a little closer than I am, but he's there. I prayed that he would, like the thief on the third cross on the hill of Calvary, would accept the Lord and declare him the Son of God. And that is my prayer for him, that he did accept the Lord that day. As firefighters and first responders, we are privileged to come into the homes of other people to ease their emergency, not our emergency. Captain Mitchner told me when I was driving for him in Station 4 that when we respond, we are not responding as an emergency. It's not our emergency. We're going to go there and help. And I tried to do that throughout my career as an officer, but I certainly didn't do it before Mitch told me about it. At any rate, during my career, I had the chance to be the last person that a few different people saw before they passed away and moved on to the next life. I had the privilege also of being there for the delivery of 3 children. And after I retired, I had the privilege of delivering my granddaughter. All of those life-shaking events are our privilege to be there to help. As firefighters and as first responders, we are blessed in that we get to do that. We are blessed that people see calmness on our faces and reassurance that the best for their loved one is happening. Vance shared that attitude